Yeah. Oh. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Hey. Call Angola. Call Angola. Up on my Africa Angola. Call Angola. Call Angola. Call Angola. Up Shamalang. Angola. Call Angola.
Welcome to Round Discussions. My name is John Henderson, and I'm your host for this evening's production. Well, guys, you've been sending in your fan letters and your requests. And so this month we're going to be looking at African studies. And so after choosing and looking at who to get and who to bring, I found out and I realized that we have our very own here within the Bahamas. And so this evening we've invited Dr. Anishka Scott from the Mission State University here. And so she's going to be talking about her recent book, The Struggles of Angola. And so here she is, Dr. Anishka Scott. Dr. Scott, how are you this evening?
I'm fine, thanks, Dr. Henderson. It's a pleasure to see you.
Yeah, so let's get down to the meat and the grind of everything. Your book, I must say, it is a work of art. And because I've read it, and so what I observed is that your book is a power-driven novel that goes in depth about the history of Angola. And so I realized while reading, it actually looked at the pre-colonial, the colonial, and the post-colonial struggles of our Angolians. And I'm wondering, and I've been questioning, why Angola? Of all the countries to choose within Africa, you have Egypt, you have Zimbabwe, you have South Africa. Why Angola?
Well, Dr. Henderson, Angola is my country. It is one of the most beautiful countries in Africa. It comprises of Luanda, the Congo, and Namibia Desert. The Congo River, itself is just beautiful. You see, Dr. Henderson, the Congo over the many years have been one of the main transportation routes in Africa.
Like your book says.
Exactly. And I look at it as, in my book I said that it was the gateway for the Europeans to get into.
And I found that so interesting.
Yes, so what I would like my Bahamian people to know is how it all started. I believe that when you write history, you must start from the beginning.
Yes.
And the beginning, my dear, is Africa, the most beautiful place in the world. So in Angola, you had these Pais people, and they were short, and they had beautiful complexion like yours and myself. And these people, they inhabit the Congo River, the Congo region, if you will. And they were very skilled with agriculture. You see, for years throughout history, people have said that Africa had no contribution
That's true.
to the world. They said that our people are ignorant. They said that our people are savages. But I wanted to prove them wrong in my book. And in it, I looked at how the people of Angola became one. As I mentioned, you had these first group of people, they inhabited Africa. And then you had these Bantu people. The historians said that they came from the north, but we don't matter where they came from. The fact is they're African. The fact is they met Africans there.
Yes, they did.
And even though they were more advanced in terms of technology with the metals and whatnot, they were able to live in a happy community.
Yes.
And you see, Dr. Henderson, during that time, you had the most famous kingdom.
Yes,
The Congo Kingdom.
Yes,
And the Congo Kingdom, even though it was one of the powerful kingdoms in Africa, Angola, Within its kingdom, it had other dependent kingdoms, like the Ndongo kingdom. You see, back then, or during that time, Dr. Henderson, the Africans lived a beautiful life. And I like to say, like I said in my book, the beginning of African, or the people of Angola, was very beautiful. But it was until 1482 when Diogo Cao came into Africa via the Congo River. You see, that's the beautiful thing about the Congo River. Even though it was heavily used, it remained pure.
Yes.
God's gift to nature.
Yes, yes.
So when he came in contact with the Congo Kingdom, things start to change. They say black means bad, but I think it's the other way around.
And like your book alluded to, I love that black is not bad, but through what I was reading, it showed that the essence of our history and the essence of our culture is just pure, and you can't find it anyplace else.
Of course not. The Europeans took our culture. And as we look at Angola, they said, historians say that the king at the time, Alfonso, when he met these Portuguese, they say, oh, he said to them, bring in these missionaries, people. Bring the missionaries in. Allow them to teach me about Christianity. Let them educate my people. So the Portuguese said, okay, this is the way that we're going to get it. And this is the way how we are going to rule Angola. So they use Christianity, even though Christianity is our religion.
Yes.
They use Christianity as a means to get into Africa. And I'll tell you what they did, Dr. Henderson. They allowed the missionaries to come in, but at a cost. Because you see, at a time when Cao came into Angola, four Angolians, or Congolese, because at the time it was the Kingdom of Congo, they went back to Portuguese. And they returned back within a few years. And he said, okay, it's all right. They said, the Portuguese said to the king, okay, we will bring our missionaries in. You give us some goods. And the goods were ivory at the time, you know, the good resources that we had. But over time, you had the Portuguese. They wanted laborers in their on their plantation in San Tomé. So, as we say in the Bahamas, you gotta pay. Things gotta change. I need more.
Yes.
I giving you this.
I need.
Exactly. So what they said, give us some slaves. So that is what Alfonso did. So they give the slaves to the Portuguese. The Portuguese abused it. Because when Alfonso realized that it was hurting his people,
yes.
he wrote a letter to the Portuguese king. And he said, stop the slave trade. But they said to him, who do you think you are? If you said to me, right now, Dr. Henderson, Dr. Scott, please, you cannot, you have to leave right now. And I said, who do you think you are? And I don't listen to you, I don't adhere to your rules. You don't control, that means you don't control the show.
Yes, yes.
So that was the same case with the Congolese and the king of Congo. So you had that happening. And at the same time, they use it to weaken
the
the Congo
yes.
kingdom. And then they moved further south.
Wow.
To the Ndongo kingdom. You see, the Ndongo kingdom was paying attention of what was going on. But at the same time, the Ndongo kingdom, they wanted their independence from the Congo kingdom. Because remember now,
the dependent kingdoms
exactly.
within the large.
Yes. That was so. So the Portuguese were aware of this, and they said, "Okay, this is how we're going to play it." The Congolese, the Congo kingdom versus the Ndongo kingdom, and they used it to weaken both kingdoms because they were fighting each other. while the Africans were fighting each other, the Portuguese were strengthening themselves. So that was an ongoing thing in Angola. That's when you see the history, the culture being tarnished. It was changing. And that is one of the reasons why I chose to look at Angola. How is it that such a peaceful place is the way it was at that time to present day? And then you see, even though the Portuguese tried to play the two kingdoms together, you had in 1641 in Ndongo Kingdom, where they established Luanda.
Yes, they did.
And Luanda at the time became the capital. Okay? So when you get the head, you watch the film White House Down.
Yes.
When you get the head, you shut down the entire
Yes, you do. You shut down the
entire country or the entire yes. So Dr. Henderson, in 1641, the Dutch occupied Luanda. And the reason why they came to Africa, to Angola, is because Spain had occupied Portugal.
Yes, yes.
And the Dutch said it was an opportunity to come in and take over that territory.
And what I realized is that, because you hit it dead spot on, but what I guess we're interested is in the history, not so much the history, but where was this name Angola birthed? Because I read your book, and your book alluded to the death of the king of Ndongo, and it spoke about this character, this really politician that your book alludes to, Jinga, and seeing that because of this superior nature of the Portuguese, she had this charismatic and intuitive spirit to say, you know what, this is my country, this is my land, and it's time for us to get back our space. And so what I realized that your book talked about is that she created a coalition with the Dutch, and that with that coalition and that meshing and that combination of those two people, so to say, is that it then weakened the Portuguese's power that they had over them, that obviously led to their retreat. But like all good things, there always has to be a little bit of struggle. And your book, again, The Struggles of Angola, it spoke about and it alludes to her coalition's demise. And I guess that's where this new transition from Ndongo to Angola comes in, because your book talks about the resistance.
Okay, Dr. Henderson, allow me to clarify. The name Angola derives from the king name of Ndongo.
Yes.
His name was Nangola. And the Portuguese gave him the name Angola, and they called the entire region Angola.
Yes.
You mentioned Jinga. Yes, Jinga was known as the queen. At the time, she did form an alliance with the Dutch. If you are fed up with me, you want this all meet out, and you want something new come in. And the Dutch supplied them with, or supplied Jinga with firearms to fight the Portuguese. But when the Dutch couldn't supply any longer, the alliance, it withered. But the expulsion or the eradication of the Portuguese really started in 1956, when the first movement, known as the MPLA, which stands for the People Movement of Liberation. And this group comprised of the Africans and the mixed Africans. You know, the mojitos.
Yes, yes.
That's with the Portuguese or what have you. And they looked at Marx's theory. And Marx's theory, we know that the haves and the have-nots.
Yes, the haves, yes.
So many said that this resistance movement wasn't successful, but I think it was. Because you had in 1961, when the Portuguese tried to crack down on them.
Yes.
And see, what had happened was Luanda. Luanda was the capital. And like I mentioned to you earlier,
Yes.
as long as you get the head, you shut down.
Everything
So
else, yes.
Luanda supported the MPLA, but the Portuguese didn't want that. So you had in 1962 a new form of resistance coming about known as the FNLA. And this group was known as the National Front of Angola. And these people, like the MPLA, fought for the lower class.
Yes.
But the Portuguese being Portuguese, and I have to say it like that, Dr. Henderson, the Portuguese being the Portuguese,
The superiors.
the superiors, they tried to crack down on this particular group too. I won't say they were successful, because a split within the NFLA happened, and this happened in 1966 when a new form of resistance happened, known as the UNITA. And this group was the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola. And they were successful. And I'll tell you why, Dr. Henderson. You can't fight in two places. You cannot fight in two places. You don't have that manpower to. So in 1974, something important is happening in Europe. You had a group of young Portuguese colonials who overthrew the government. And when that happened, the government could not oversee its colonies. Therefore, they had to release the hold on Angola. Even though Angola got its independence on November 11, 1957.
Sorry to cut you off right there. We're going to take a little intermission. Guys, we're going to be right back. More with Dr. Scott on her book, The Struggles of Angola.
The Angola National Private Investment Agency is the only government institution responsible for the promotion, evaluation, and execution of the national private investment policy. Potential investors are looking for good markets, and Angola is a very good market. With two neighbor countries with more than 80 million inhabitants, without access to seaports that could utilize the Lobito Harbor through the Benguela Railway.
Apart from oil, the priorities for mining development in the country are diamonds, alluvial and kimberlites, dimension stones, granite, anorthosite and marble, industrial minerals, manganese and iron ore, etc.
So welcome back, guys, to the round discussion again, here with Dr. Scott on her book, The Struggles of Angola. So Dr. Scott, before we break, you were talking about these resistances and they're fighting for the country. Continue on.
Like I was saying, Dr. Henderson, in 1974, something amazing happened. Back in Europe, back in Portugal, you had young Portuguese fighting the government,
Yes.
in which they were successful and they overthrew them. But even though the government of Portugal released its grip on Angola, this did not mean that they were free. Yes, Angola got its independence in
Yes.
1975, November 11, but it was a civil war, if you
Yes.
wish, between the opposition parties. And this is what happened. Because of this, you had the superpowers coming in. You had the Americas siding with the FNLA and the UNITA. Because the UNITA and the FNLA, they form an alliance.
Yes. Like you're
So
saying.
the Americas was for that particular union, but Russia was with the MPLA. And that was the breaking ground of the Cold War. So as a result of that, they had this battle, this ongoing battle on who will win, on the struggle, or in this case, the fight for Angola. Exactly. So in 1975, October, South Africa got involved. And they too supported the Americans. So in October 1975, South Africa backed up the United States. And it caused the MPLA to seek help.
Yes.
And they went to Cuba. So Cuba got involved in the Cold War. So what was so significant about the MPLA at the time is that they ruled Rwanda. And they were able to take control of the Republic of Angola. So in 1976, it was the war with the UNITA. And even though the America had joined the UNITA, they weren't prepared. Better yet, they weren't willing to go up against Cuba. So South Africa supported Jonas Savimbi, and he had established a base in Zambia, in the south coast for the UNITA. By the mid-1980s, UNITA was operating its province.
Yes.
So by the mid-1980s, and in 1986, the Americans, they had to say to themselves, okay, at this point, we have to go against Cuba. Because remember now, Cuba was all about communism.
Yes.
And America isn't. So to avoid communism in Angola, they sided with Angola and they started to support them in terms of firearms and what have you. So in the 1980s as well, something happened. The collapse of the Soviet Union and the end
of the apartheid. And I found that quite interesting in your book, that this apartheid just ended up within all of this transitioning point for, I just found that to be just an awesome thing.
The government, the white government, started to lose interest in Angola. The people were taken back their land.
Territory, yes.
Exactly. So in 1988, Angola, along with Cuba, signed an agreement. And it mandated that all Cubans withdraw
From
troops from Angola. And in 1990, the agreement paved the way for Namibia's independence. So you have to see now the relationship between the MPLA and UNITA. So you had the negotiations going on in 1990. The Central Committee renounced Marxism. And Marxism, so that meant that the haves and the have-not wasn't a main concern. Because Marx looked at the poor people. So that meant that if they removed it, they could care less about the poor people. So in 1991, MPLA, and the UNITA, they disregard Marxism. So when they had this negotiation, and when they denounced or they got rid of Marxism, that meant that it was no longer about the poor people. I remember this ongoing struggle of Angola was about recapturing. It showed how people lived, how the Europeans came in, how the Angolians got their land back, but in present day and time, they are fighting. They are fighting for their freedom because it was recorded in 2014, this very year, in May, that a lot of the citizens are anti-government. They are fighting against the government for their freedom, their human rights. So that is why, Dr. Henderson, that I looked at Angola. So Dr. Henderson, when the UNITA and the MPLA, they got together to negotiate in 1990. What they did was that they renounced Marxism. And Marxism, it looks at the haves and the have-not. But it focused mainly on the people who don't have it. So when they renounced it, they thought that that brought peace. But in actuality, we can see in today, in present time, that it doesn't.
Yes.
It was recorded in 2011 that the Human Rights Watch was in Angola.
Yes, it was.
And then you had some cases in this year of May 2014. Angolians are protesting against the government. They are anti-government.
Yes.
So even though these people fought for independence from the Portuguese, you have Angolians fighting for their freedom. So when Europe or when Portugal released the hold on its colony, they weren't free. In 2014, they are still fighting
and they're struggling.
Exactly. So that is why I looked at Angola. History started out so beautiful. People lived together. The Portuguese came in. The Europeans followed. They changed that to unity. And in present time, it's like they're trying to go back to it when they fought for their independence, but they're not there.
You know, Dr. Scott, now that you've in-depth examined and caused us to think, I agree with you. Because if you looked at it, and for those who haven't read, I urge you and I implore you to pick up your book. Pick up this book, The Struggles of Angola, because it really does show us the struggle of our kind, so to say. Because you're looking at Angola, and you saw that this once beautiful and peaceful place of expressions of who we are and who we're meant to be, being challenged by the so-called, say, superiority. And now looking at them, even now, trying to struggle to get back to that place where they once was, is just inspiring and I can assure you, for many of us.
On that note, Dr. Henderson, I would like to conclude this. People have written, they have said that Africa will not rise again. But I kid you not, it will rise again.
Yes.
Even though Angola is faced with these challenges in
Yes.
present day, they will get back to them,
Yes.
who they were, a people, a community, most importantly, a family.
Yes. I agree. Well, folks, that's our time here for tonight. Thank you for tuning in to the round discussion. Again, we thank you, Dr. Scott, for coming here with us. And yes, sharing your view about this sense of who we are and our people. So guys, I implore you again once more to buy this book, The Struggle of Angola by Dr. Anishka Scott. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your night.
Hey, Angola. up on my African Angola, call Angola.